Hello for the eighth Sunday in Ordinary Time, using the first reading from Sirach, chapter 27, 4 to 7, and the Gospel, Luke, chapter 6, verses 39 to 45. This morning when I was walking out early to get my mail from yesterday, I looked down and saw popping out of the ground daffodils. In the front of my house, I have about 11 groups of these daffodils, 10 or 12 in a circle, sort of. And they're popping out of the ground and they're about that high. And I thought, oh God, spring is here, or at least spring is coming. And then when I came back with a couple pieces of mail, I looked over my fish pond, and on the top of the water was a thin, clear sheet of ice and a few of the 21 goldfish popping around. They sort of feel like the same thing. Spring is near. And you know what else is near? Ash Wednesday. Lent is near. That word Lent itself is an old English word meaning springtime. There's an old German word, Linsen, meaning spring. And I can't wait. Spring is here. And in the history of our church, we have been celebrating a period of time in preparation for the resurrection and a celebration of the resurrection, the most important part or act of Jesus Christ in what he did for all humankind. He rose from the dead. And that resurrection is coming too, April 17th. And it's the most important feast day that we have. Not Christmas, but Easter. The time when Jesus Christ rose from the dead and saved the world and showed us he's the first one who rose from the dead, and all of us too will rise from the dead. It's the most important. And so we make Easter a big feast. In fact, we try to celebrate all Sundays of the year. We call them, in the history of the church, the little Easters. So we're not supposed to be doing penance and that type of stuff on little Easters, and especially big Easter, Easter Sunday. It's sort of interesting. We have a tendency of doing things like this because when I grew up, every Friday of the year, you couldn't eat meat. And it was bad news if you ate meat. Well, why did we do that? Well, we wanted to keep in mind and remind ourselves that Jesus Christ died on Good Friday, that first Good Friday. Maybe we ought to sacrifice and die a little bit to ourselves on Fridays. Well, this became so legal and sort of not as meaningful that the church says, well, don't do it every Good Friday or every Friday of the year, but you only do it during the Fridays during Lent, during these 40 days. And these 40 days are interesting too, because if you count them up, probably you're not going to get 40 days. You're going to get either more or fewer. It all depends where you count and how you count. Well, don't count the Sundays. Then you get, don't count the Sundays, and then you get, well, you might get 38 or you whatever. We try to make it 40 because of 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. And so we needed more. So we added Ash Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And somehow we got out to around 40. But that's not important. The important thing is Christ has died, Christ is risen, and we need to do something about it. Well, my question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to do something about it? during the coming of this springtime, and the springtime that leads to Easter Sunday. And my suggestion is that you sort of follow and read the gospel. You know, what do you know? Well, don't be like a blind person where you can't see Jesus. Don't know Jesus. That you just can't comprehend what it's really all about. Or that we get so tied up in the world and other people and other things that we're like the blind leading the blind. So try to look in the mirror and see yourself, look at Jesus and see Jesus in that person looking in the mirror by doing something, refraining from doing something, fasting, prayer, almsgiving, some traditional things, or do whatever you want or whatever would be meaningful so that you can see Christ in you and see Christ in other people and know how important the resurrection is. 2 Sundays ago, St. Paul was speaking to the Corinthians, and he says, if you don't believe in that Jesus Christ was risen from the dead, and that we too will rise from the dead, he says, you're the most pathetic of all people, that you're hoping into something that didn't happen. Or your whole life you've been hoping in something that is not going to happen. Namely, you and I will rise from the dead just as Jesus Christ did. So my plea is, it's springtime. Things are changing, and I think they're changing for the good. I like the warm weather. I like the spring. I like the flowers. I like the outside. I like the goldfish and the daffodils and all kinds of things like that. But spring is part of our life. And during spring times, Lent is part of our life. And we're called to be a little bit more introspective, a little bit more of going out of ourselves for other people, or trying to get in a little bit deeper contact with Jesus the Christ, the resurrected one, the one who suffered death for you and for me. How about it? Spring's coming. Ash Wednesday starts on Wednesday of this coming week, March 2. What are you going to do? Is it worthwhile doing something, refraining from doing something? If you don't like some of the traditional suggestions in church, well, then make up your own. Try to get closer to Christ. Try to get closer to other people. Try to get closer to yourself. And don't be like blind people. They don't see the light. They can't see the light. We can. We are given a gift. And it's called the gift of faith that leads to resurrection. Not only for Jesus, but for you and me. Have a good day.